A brief backstory. This took place during my sophomore year at the local university. This lasted for only 5 months. Even though it felt much longer, but it gave me terrifying sleepless nights for weeks. And I had been using a therapy for almost a year even after this, due to the fact that I suffer and the sleepless nightmares I had due to the fact it was related to all this. And I could not be more terrified of this trauma it happened just because one single guy and I was not basically I wasn't really close to, but we went to the same university, we went to the same school before in the high school, and I will tell you, it frightened me. All of this happened when I was with my best friend Nikki. My name is Daniela, by the way, and we were walking to my locker when I opened it. I found this note. It was I wasn't really so surprised was anyone even giving me a note, but though this kind of things remind me back in high school that some of my friends maybe put a note. I mean, Nikki used to do the same thing, and I thought maybe she had done it, but then why would she? Since she is my best friend of all, so I opened the note. It says, "Roses are red, violets are blue, your eyes are beautiful as a night sky. Your secret admirer." Nikki saw the note and she was like, "Oh, you have a secret admirer." But I wasn't really much pleased about this, and honestly, I didn't even care about it since I was not focusing too much in dating or relationship. Even though I only had one boyfriend back in high school, but we only lasted for maybe just 1 year. So instead, I crumbled up this note and threw it in the trash afterwards. She was like, "Why?" I was like, "I don't need any romance at the moment," I said. But as his note was almost forgotten in my mind, and a couple of days later, another note showed up in my locker, and this time it wasn't like a poem, but this was like a message, a short one. "Why did you throw away my poem? I thought you would like it. Your secret admirer." And I was really so surprised. What did this could be going on? I was like, who can this been going on doing this? And honestly, I didn't even care anything. But this time, I didn't throw the note. I just put it in my backpack, and when I got home, then I threw it out. But I really didn't know who this could have been. I mean, this particular university had about 900 students. And if I had to be studying to be asking every single one, that would take me days. And there is even if I would find the one who is doing this, that person might just lie. And even though Nikki thought I should just allow this to keep happening, but I told her I'm not interested in dating at all. And after the second note, I didn't get any much notes for the next few weeks. I was like, I thought maybe this was now over. But boy, I was so wrong in that. Because just suddenly as it is started, it stopped. But then it started again. But this time it was not much a lovely note. It said, "Why are you ignoring me? My love for you is so pure, so strong. You should give me a chance to prove it to you. I will meet you at the parking lot after school is over. Your secret admirer." And I was a little bit frightened at that statement because at since my last class was around 6 p.m. and this was during the winter time when it happened, it was getting dark fast at the time, and I was like, "Nope, I'm not gonna meet this complete stranger at the parking lot when it's dark. And luckily, when I did ask Nikki if it was possible if she could stay behind and walk with me, unfortunately, she said that she couldn't since she'd only had her last class was 2 hours earlier than me. So I was like, well, since I'm on my own. But then I asked another friend of mine, Robin. He said that he didn't mind being walking with me to my car because since I usually park a little bit distant from the school. And as we were just walking, I was also looking around in the parking lot for this strange secret admirer. But there was no signs of anyone. There was like a completely empty. There were no other cars on this parking lot except for two, mine and Robin's. I was really surprised that maybe that Robin could have been the secret admirer. But it doesn't even add up to his character. I mean, I have known Robin for quite a while since high school, but this is really something that he didn't like or was like to do. I know that he do make pranks or maybe jokes about something, but this is in one completely level of anything. Robin was actually aware of the supposed secret admirer notes. He thought it was a little bit creepy and also a bit strange, and he also was curious to who this could have been. But the next day when I got to school, around 10 a.m., I actually had a note in my locker. That's to suppose maybe this person was early in the morning, like myself. But that could not have been, there could have been anyone. But this time the note was not like friendly or anything, it was more as angry. How dare you to walk with another man when you have me in your life? How dare you to cheat on me, secret admirer? This time was like almost angrily because the line was almost like big capitals. I was stunned. I even showed this to Nikki. She was a little bit worried. She told me to go to school dean to be asking for what to do, but unfortunately, I told her there isn't much they can do since I don't know who the student is, and since there are no cameras in the hallways, and since there are no staff that probably seen of tons of students in the morning, so it's impossible to figure out exactly who can have been. And then unless she said, unless you put a camera in your own locker, I was like, well, that I could, but I don't have the money for it, and it would be weird. It would have been easily been spotted. Since I don't have a lot of things, I didn't have much things in my locker, and it would immediately been noticeable. And she said, well, maybe we can do some research. Well, I mean, do you think that there's anyone who actually has a crush on you? I was thinking for a moment. There were a few guys that were interested in me, but it was only back in the first year of university. But after that, through my second year of as a sophomore year, those guys has just suddenly dropped their interest in me, and there was no one else. I was really surprised who it actually could have been, to be honest. But as the disc continued, I continued to get more notes, but this time it was just back in normally. There was just poems or saying how much he loved me, how much he can wait us to be getting married, to start a family. Now these notes were, even though they weren't creepy or angrily, but it's starting to get me a little bit worried. This completely person, this individual is delusional. Is very delusional of creating a life that this person wants with me, a family, a few kids, and all that. I'm just like, I'm not in a way of starting a family right after university. Well, not right away. I mean, I will probably have to work to pay off some of my university debts otherwise. But as it is continued, Nikki was starting to get a bit worried herself because she noticed my discomfort. I mean, I was really feeling uncomfortable about these notes because it started. And then she realized if this person actually can get to your note, the locker, she asked one of the janitors if it's possible if he could be looking around in the area when he's there, if he can spot us anyone. Unfortunately, for most part when he was in the area, he didn't see anyone. Only a few students have walked by, but no one actually stopped by her locker or anything. But then, Nikki came up with this brilliant idea. Well, according to her, why not deposit your own note on your locker for your secret admirer? Well, they probably thought be a good thing, but the thing is, anyone could be taking the note and then pretend to be my secret admirer. She thought maybe that's true, and unless actually this person have access to my locker. Now that would have been weird. Because the only thing that's the only ones who know about this is me, the principal. Because the principal is the only one who has access to every single one. But I doubt it's the principal. But as this continued, Robin started to get a little bit worried himself. And in fact, during this time frame, Robin actually had asked me out on a date, which I said yes. And after being had been on a few dates, I started getting a note or notes. This one were really more terrifying. I thought you should stay away from that guy. If you don't, I will take care of him. Your secret admirer. I managed to inform Robin about this in time because one morning when he went to his car, he found both his back tires has been slashed by a knife or something. He was not terrified. He was furious. This car was actually his late gift from his father before he passed away during his first year of university. This car was his prizes, his most valued possession, and he didn't take lightly. But luckily though, he managed to replace those tires and there were no other damages. But he didn't take any chances. Luckily though for his mom had another old car which Robin could use. And luckily though, because one afternoon when he got out from school with me and Nikki, we noticed his car was damaged. It was scratches all over his both sides of the car and on the hood of the car. Like there were no words, just like lines that had been. We suspect maybe a knife or a screwdriver or something. We were not sure exactly what it could have been, but all the four tires had been slashed and all the windows had been completely smashed in. And there was one note inside on the steering wheel with only a few words. You stay the way of my girlfriend. Now Robin was getting mad. Luckily for Nikki and me, we managed to calm him down and we took photos of the car just in case if something else would happen. Because now Nikki and I started getting worried, especially me. Because now I started getting some strange Snapchats on my phone. And I have no idea who this person, even to this day, even how he managed to get my Snapchat. The only ones who had it was Robin, Nikki, and another few close friends. Because I asked any of them, but it turns out none of them has never given out my Snapchat. And I trusted them. I trusted them. But this Snapchat chats with me in this strange secret admirer started being friendly at first, but when I started ignoring this person, he get mad. But I started to figure out if I could maybe ask who this person is or maybe show themselves. But that always backfired. He refused to even show anything of himself, not like his face or even his name. Only he only mentioned the name started with a P. I was really surprised who they can actually been. But now at least I have a slight clue. Because I know that the school has 900 students. Only like only more than half of that is male students. Assuming if the student was around my age and had a first name start with P, it had to be something, but I couldn't know exactly who. But when I mentioned this to Nikki, she immediately realized, do you think it can actually be Peter? Peter, I thought. Peter was an old, well, he wasn't a direct friend of mine, he was more an acquaintance back in high school. I remember that he had this obsession about me, or at least dreamed that I would be dating him. He did try to ask me out a few times, but I always said no to him because I was not interested or I was already in a relationship at the time. And he didn't take it kindly because he dated a girl that was a year older than himself, and she was beautiful. And he tried to make me feel jealous that he had found a more attractive girlfriend than myself. But I didn't even budge on that. When he realized I wasn't, he dumped her and pretended that he was not interested in her anymore. And that girl, well, let's say she was not happy. But Peter, he had moved on, supposedly, because after college, high school, we went to the same university, but different major classes though. I mean, we did had maybe one or two classes together throughout the entire year, but I barely saw him much. And he didn't have much friends during his time in college, in university. So I was really curious. Should I confront him? I asked Nikki and Robin. Both said no at first, because it probably won't only make things worse, or he more likely be denying that's actually him. Unless that we could figure out it was actually him. So I asked the stalker if it was possible for us to meet in person. At first he said yes, but then only a moment later he said that he might be not be possible directly since he is a little bit shy and he might feel that I will not find him attractive. Because I told him, well, since you have been trying to get me at my attentions for weeks or for months now, why not? And so we agreed. But when I showed up at the place at the park around 2 p.m. On a Saturday, I was waiting and waiting and waiting for almost an hour. But I never saw him. I texted him on Snapchat, but he never responded. When I got back home, he then started texting back and said, I'm sorry I couldn't go because I had to do something at home. And he said that I could meet him later. But I said, no, I'm I'm busy myself that later that evening with my best friend Nikki. Which wasn't a lie, because me and Nikki were going to spend time to watch a movie together in my dorm room. I was really surprised that this guy Peter, or supposedly Peter, he never actually got mad at me. Well, at least, but in secretly, I was getting worried, scared, and because after only a few the next Monday it started, I had enough. Even though that Nikki and Robin told me not to do this, but I told them right under a long Snapchat message like, listen, I know who you are and you can't deny it. And only a few minutes later, a text message came back. So, you figure out, then who am I? I know you're Peter from my old high school, the guy who was obsessed with me. Peter, if you're reading this, please stay away from me. You and I will never be as a couple. Never again. And those notes you actually say to me, those Delusional dreams of us being married, have family. That's what it is. Dreams, delusional dreams, would never happen. And for that, don't text me ever again. I should have blocked him, but I never did. Because of that last message, he flipped out and told me, I will hunt you down. And he literally then called me on my phone. And even to this day, I don't even know how that even possible. He even figured my number. He just said on the phone, I will kill you because you can't reject me. I said firmly, I can reject you because I am in a relationship already with Robin. He screamed at me and called me some bad words. Well, he probably called me every single bad names in the book of like the B word, all that kind of things. Like, yeah, preferably not to be mentioned this exactly, just for friendly terms. I said, if you try to contact me ever again or hurt me or Robin, I will press charges against you. But he laughed and says, there's nothing you can do, or anyone can do, because he can do anything he wants and no one can do about it. He said that is his words, not mine. And in fact, after that, I hang up and block his number. I told Nikki and Robin, even though they weren't happy about this, but at least I informed them about his statement. Robin was not worried because he was like 6'2", he was strongly built, and he was actually playing. He goes to gym quite often, almost as often as he can. And I don't bother to have him around. I mean, for Peter. But after this, suddenly all the things that he told me would happen. Because one late evening, only a few days later, I heard this knock at my door. This was probably like 10 p.m., and I was still much awake. I was laying in my bed reading a book. When I heard this light knock, I was like, gonna bend at like 10 p.m. It cannot be Nikki or Robin. Robin would have texted me, Nikki the same. And I know that they probably were asleep at that point, so I walked to the door and asked, who is it? But no answer. And since that I didn't have a peephole on the door, which I wished that it worked, and I couldn't see who it could have been. But since I didn't get any answer, and was signed behind the door, I went back to bed, continued reading for a bit more, and suddenly the knocking went back, but this time was like almost banging, and suddenly it sounded like if someone tried to kick down the door or even slam himself the door. And this person behind the door was clearly a male, and I could hear he was slurring, and he was screaming almost first of all unintelligible words. He was screaming that he was when he get inside, he's gonna kill me. And after that, he's gonna kill my best friend Nikki and Robin. And I knew exactly who it was. And it was Peter. Because I know the door won't even hold for much longer because how much he extended it was striking. He was like slamming himself the entire way to hitting at the door. And this door was not made for to hold as much long. But I managed to get into my bathroom, lock the door, and managed to call for security of the university. And as he was doing that, I heard the door slam open, and he was flipping out. He noticed my bed was empty, and he started screaming, smashing, throwing things on the floor, and he screamed, and he realized I was in the bathroom because there was no other way place that I could have gone. And since I was on the third floor at the university building, it was impossible for me to just jump under the window. I mean, there was no fire escape or anything. He used something at the door. He slammed, kicked, banged, and stabbed with a knife, which I later found out. And I told him I had called the security, but he screamed, they won't get here in time. He slammed against the door, and I could hear that the door will start cracking. But this particular door was not even better than my front door. and I can start hearing the door was about to get in. But suddenly, I heard two male voices like, "Drop the knife! Drop the knife!" And he's like, but he didn't care. He's slamming and slamming, and suddenly, I heard a sound. I immediately recognized the sound as a taser. Security guards of the university managed to get there in time, but as this, he still didn't care much that they've been tased. It took him at least maybe as 3 times total to get him down the floor, and they managed to have him sort of handcuffed or something. And the security had even called for police, which showed up maybe 10 minutes later. I gave him a statement about what Peter had been doing, and I even gave him some of the evidence that he had been doing. And later it turns out he was drunk on, well, really wasted, and turned out he hasn't even been doing some sort of meth. Combined with the alcohol and meth made him completely delusional. And the police took him to the station, which I did press charges. And later that same, after the police had gone, I went to stay with Nikki's room for the night, since my own dorm room was literally slammed in. Nikki was terrified. I couldn't call Robin because at the time it was probably like 10, almost 11 p.m., and he was probably asleep. But I did text him just in case, telling him a brief version, and I'm telling him later in the morning more detail what happened. Long story short, Robin was terrified, but luckily though that I was safe. Peter, well, let's say he was expelled from the school entirely, and he had now a criminal record. But the thing is, his parents blamed me for for flirting with their own son. According to their words, that Rob Peter was always a gentle soul, and that I was rejecting him so many times that I was. It turns out that he had been telling them stories that we were dating, but he found out I was cheating with Robin, and that Robin was going to kill him because how much that according to his words, quote unquote, that Peter was always a friendly, kind soul. But in fact, despite the all evidence, they believed their own son until they found out the actual extent evidence that I had managed to save and some of the phone calls that I managed to record, and their belief in Peter vanished almost instantly. And they managed to send Peter to some institution for medical help. Turns out he had such severe delusional beliefs, and he even thought that we were expecting our first baby, that we were married already. I was so delusional, and after all this trauma, I was terrified. I had nightmares for weeks. It literally scared me so badly. I didn't dare leave my own dorm room unless I had Nikki and Robin next to me. Otherwise, I didn't dare. Even though that I was with my parents' help, I was giving a therapist to be talking about this problem and these issues. Eventually, over time, after about a year, I had moved on, but still traumatized. But I can unfortunately telling this that Peter is now still in that particular institution, probably for life. And me and Robin, well, I can also say that after we both finished university, we actually bought our own small house in town, and only about a year later, he did propose to me, and we even got married. But we decided to have just a small wedding, like just close family, close friends. And we actually welcomed our own first baby girl, maybe just a year later, and this whole event made me and Robin even more closer, and I realized Robin was the one that I wanted to be. Even at first, I didn't want to be starting a family so shortly after university, but I changed my mind. Not because of Peter, but because of Robin's gentleness. And Peter, I'm glad I will never be even to see you ever again. Thank you for that. Stay away.